Hello, it's Crystal Diaz here, and welcome to my channel where you will find videos and tutorials on how to practice authentic self-expression so that you can use your voice to make a bigger impact. Now, in the spirit of the season, I'm going to be teaching you how to sing a very classic Christmas song. This song tutorial is actually part of a challenge that I am running this month with those inside my Singers Connect membership. And traditionally what we do is learn how to sing one particular song and do it all in the same way so that I can go and edit and put everybody's voices together so that it will look like people from around the world are singing the same song in the same way all together. But this year, I wanted to do something a little bit different. Inside my program, one of our key focuses is really learning how to unlock your signature voice or your signature sound. So given that, I thought it would be appropriate to try something different where I will teach you a classic traditional song, one that has been covered many times, but the whole idea here is to really encourage you to sing it your way. So how this will work is I'm going to teach you the song line by line, but for every line, I'm going to give you an alternative way of singing it. And so what I want to show you here is how small changes to a phrasing, to the way that you are phrasing a line, can already make a really big difference in terms of the feeling and the delivery of that line. Sometimes when we're so used to hearing the song performed in a particular way, especially if we've heard the same song over and over again by the same artist, the way of singing that song gets really locked in our minds. And so I want to use this as an opportunity to encourage you to break the mold a little bit and try some new things using a very traditional Christmas song as an example. All right, I hope you are excited to dive in, so let's go to it. The song we're going to be learning today is Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas. It is definitely one of my favorite songs. And we're going to be learning it in the key of F sharp. There are plenty of other arrangements online that you can find, but the version that I'm going to be using for this tutorial is a piano version that I found on YouTube that I've actually used quite a lot for teaching my students. And so I will link to that video in the description below so that you can also find it as well. But like I said, there are plenty of other different versions in different keys online as well. So explore and experiment with what fits, with what feels right in your voice. All right, so in this particular instrumental version, there is a 4-bar introduction, and we start singing after the first beat of the 5th bar. So I will count you in so that you can feel what that is like, but I want to encourage you to not come in on the beat. So here's what I mean. I'm going to count the introduction, and then I'm going to come in on the second beat of the 5th bar. I want you to feel what that is like, and then I'm going to show you a different way of doing it. Okay, so let's start from the beginning. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 2, 3, 4. 3, 2, 3, 4. 4, 2, 3, 4, 5. Have yourself a merry little Christmas. Okay, so that is me coming in right on the beat, on the second beat of the 5th bar. So I went 4, 2, 3, 4, 5. Have yourself a merry. So this is me singing on the beat, very regulated, right? And so not that that's wrong, but I want you to experiment with singing off of the beat, because when done with intention, that can actually make the whole song feel a lot freer and kind of like it's more like you're really telling a story or you're having a conversation with somebody, as opposed to wanting to feel like you're stuck in a pattern that you can't break out of, if that makes sense. So let me show you that again, that intro again. I'm going to count it, but this time I'm going to delay where I'm starting. So I'm going to come in a little bit off the beat, but I want you to, I encourage you to try that out and see which one you like. 2, 3, 4. 2, 2, 3, 4. 3, 2, 3, 4. 4, 2, 3, 4, 5. Have yourself a merry little Christmas. You see how that's different, right? So instead of going 5, have yourself a merry little Christmas. Can you feel how, again, that's not wrong, but it feels a little bit like you're stuck in like a metronome feeling, right? There is a balance here. We don't want to delay it so much that it feels like we've just completely lost the beat entirely. So you do have to experiment with it. But I encourage you to give this a try, because once you do that, you'll feel like you don't have to stick to a very rigid way of singing. Now, in terms of the phrasing, you will see here in the lyrics that I have two versions of this song kind of mapped out or marked out for you. And you can see that I have broken parts of these lines up in a very particular way. Now, the brackets indicate what I call a phrase chunk. Okay, so that's a term that I use inside of my program with my students. Phrase chunking is a terminology that I use to describe how we would divide one line into different pieces. So here you can see one phrase chunk is have yourself, another phrase chunk is a merry, and then the third phrase chunk here is little Christmas. But on the second column here, I've chunked it out in two phrase chunks instead of three. So now that we know what those little brackets mean, let me show you what it would sound like and how differently it sounds when we bracket or we chunk the phrase up in a different way. So we're going to start with the left-hand column first. Have yourself a merry little Christmas. So you can hear that I'm have yourself is one phrase chunk. I took a breath. A merry. I took a breath again. Little Christmas. Now it's not like I need to take a breath here. I don't have to. I could just hold my breath. So if I didn't take a breath there, have yourself a merry little Christmas. Do you see how it almost feels like I'm waiting for something to happen? And so it can put you as a singer on edge, and it can also put your listeners on edge as well. So do take a breath, even though you don't really actually need to, because these phrases are quite short. Take a breath anyway, because it'll give you some space. All right, so moving on to the second column here, let's see what this line would sound like if we chunked it up into two phrase chunks as opposed to three. Have yourself a merry little Christmas. So different, right? It feels, for me as a singer already, that small change gave me a different way, or it encouraged me to think of a different way of expressing this one line. Now, within a phrase chunk, there are other opportunities to play with variations as well. So within that phrase chunk, I could go, have yourself a merry little Christmas. I could do that. The possibilities are endless, but that's why I find it so valuable to think about phrase chunking. It can make a song easier to work through, but also it can give you actually a lot of clues or insight or inspiration to add embellishments here and there as well. All right, so now that you have a sense of what these two different columns mean, let's go ahead and continue moving on to the rest of the song. The next line here, the melody goes, let your heart be light. So the word be goes up. You can glide that if you want to. Be light. You can glide that up, down if you want to as well. Now let's have a look at the different phrasing styles here. In one example, as I just demonstrated there, I put that all into one. Let your heart be light. But what if I changed it up and broke it up into two phrase chunks? It might sound like this. Let your heart be light. I might do that. Or I could go, let your heart be light. I could do that too. I'm still chunking them up into two sections, but you can see within those phrase chunks, I have so many different things I can play with, right? Okay, so that's the second line. The next line, let's go back to column number one. The melody goes like this. From now on. So there's three notes there. From now on. In this phrasing style here, you can take a breath. And then the hour is a little bit higher. It's in this key, it's a B flat 4. So it's right in the middle of the typical female first bridge. So that might be uncomfortable for you. So one thing you could do, well, two things. One is open your mouth, and also second thing, add a little H to the hour. So it almost sounds like you're saying, our troubles. That can make it a lot easier to hit notes in that way. Add a little H to it to soften it out. Our troubles, as opposed to going, our troubles, and trying to tackle it that way. Our troubles will be out of sight. So in this phrasing style here, we're taking a little breath or we're taking a little pause between troubles and will be out of sight. Now let's move on to column 2 to see how this might sound like in a different phrasing style. From now on, our troubles will be out of sight. Feels different. It really does feel different to me. Hopefully that feels different to you as you're listening to it as well. Again, I could do different things. This makes me feel like I can go, from now on our troubles. So I feel like I can express a lot more because that's given me more room to express into the way that I phrased it. And then here, we'll be out of sight. Because I've taken a breath after the word out, I can now do something a little bit more with the word sight. I could add a little sight, sight. I could do that as well. So again, changing the phrasing of a song, of one line, can, again, not only feel very different, but it can give you ideas, inspire ideas to express yourself in a different way. All right, for the next line, we're keeping things simple and we're sticking to the same phrasing style as the first line, but this time around, I encourage you to do something a little bit different within these phrase chunks. So in the beginning, we sang, have yourself a merry little Christmas, right? So this time, let's try something different. Let's go, have yourself. So instead of going, have yourself, we're going to go, have yourself. So it stays a little bit up. Da, 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 have yourself a merry little Christmas. Why don't we try that? So Christmas, da, da, da. So there's a little bit of a embellishment there. There's a da, 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 2-note embellishment there. Have yourself a merry little Christmas. Okay, you can try that or try something on your own. Experiment and explore. Find something that is uniquely yours as well. Now let's go to the same line, but in column 2, we're going to use the same melody that we have, the same alternative melody that we just worked out for the first column, but we're going to change the phrasing following what is written here. So we're going to go, have yourself a merry. Now because we are not breaking up the word yourself and a merry anymore, we're actually putting it into one. So you can hear how that encourages me to glide into the word of a merry. Have yourself a merry. So there's an opportunity for me to express into that connecting point between yourself and and that can only happen if I've chunked this phrase up in this way. You see, it's just like the possibilities are just really endless, right? All right. Let's keep going. Next line. Let's go back to column 1. In this line here, make the Yuletide gay, I've put them into just one phrase chunk. Make the Yuletide gay. So make the Yule goes up. A similar melodic pattern to the line before, actually. Have yourself a... It's the same notes. Make the Yuletide gay. So, and I'm linking them up a little bit more here because that's how I feel inclined to doing it if I've chunked it up as one entire phrase chunk. But if I were to chunk it up into 2 phrase chunks, that might make me do something a little bit different expressively. So let's see what that might sound like. Make the Yuletide gay. So I changed the word make because if I phrase it up this way and I use the word make as a standalone word here, it's a bit weird for me to go make the Yuletide, right? It feels weird if I don't do anything with it. But because it's just one word, I decided to make it a little bit more softer. Make the Yuletide gay, and do it in that way. For me, I think that expresses that line with a little bit more feeling, as opposed to just going, make the Yuletide. I'm sure you wouldn't do that. You could change this around too. You could go, make the Yuletide gay. You could do that and isolate gay instead of make. And then maybe if you did that, you might feel inspired to maybe add a little ad-lib there because you've taken a breath. So for example, make the Yuletide gay. Oh, you could do that if you wanted to because you've taken a breath right before that word. So now you have a little bit more air to express into. Okay, so I could go on and on, honestly, but let's move on to the next line. Here I phrased this up into 3 chunks. From now on, take a breath, our troubles will be miles. So this one here is different from the from now on, our troubles will be out of sight. It starts the same melody, but then it changes. The word miles, you can hear it when you listen to the music. There is like a different chord there. And so from now on, our troubles will be miles. It kind of tilts down in that note there. Okay, so don't go, our troubles will be miles. It's not miles away. It's from now on, our troubles will be miles away. And extend this out. This is kind of a nice word to extend out, especially because we've just taken a breath right before the word away. So then now we can extend. We have a lot of fuel in the tank, right, to extend that out and hold the note out. Now let's try it in the different phrasing style on column 2. I've phrased it up into 2 chunks here. From now on, our troubles will be miles away. Now, you could still extend the word away out, but because this is already, we've lengthened out the phrase chunks here because we've moved it into 2 phrase chunks as opposed to 3. You might not feel like you want to extend the word away out. You might just want to go, we'll be miles away. You might want to do that. Totally fine. Try both. Or you could even go, we'll be miles away. You could do that too. You can add some embellishments here if you want to. Okay, so now that we've come to about halfway through the song, let's go ahead and sing this first half. We can practice it together with the instrumental. I'm going to go ahead and follow the phrasing style in column number 1. And so please feel free to sing with me, or if you want to, you can pause this video and find the instrumental version and sing it on your own. And you can choose between column 1 or column 2, or you can go alternating. You can do column 1 first line, column 2 second line. Again, pick and choose. It's kind of like a puzzle that you can work out and put together and to create your own picture, really. Okay, with that, let's go ahead from the beginning. Have yourself a merry little Christmas. Let your heart be light. From now on, our troubles will be out of sight. Have yourself a merry little Christmas. Make the Yuletide gay. From now on, our troubles will be miles away. All right, well done. Okay, so let's move on to the second half of this song. In the second half here, we are starting at that B flat 4. So thankfully there was a little H here that can actually help us to soften out the approach there and make it a little bit easier on our voices. But we want to make sure that we're still creating space, so we don't want to squeeze up there. Here we are. We want to really open up there. Here we are. And actually it helps to try to soften out the letter R here. So instead of going here we are and trying to overpronounce the R, I would encourage you to soften it out here. Here we are. Then it's a lot easier to sing this line here, which is pretty much all the same note. It's all that B flat 4. So in terms of phrasing, we are chunking it up into 4 here in column 1. So let's see what that might sound like. Here we are, as in olden days, happy golden days of yore. So I am breaking it up a little bit more here. So that actually makes me feel like I can do a little bit more styling. Otherwise, it might just feel like it's just, here we are, as in olden days, happy golden days of yore. So I don't want it to come across as too regimented in that way. So let me try to add some embellishments here to just to add some variety to the different phrase chunks. Here we are, as in olden days, happy golden days of yore. Okay, so that's just, I've added some embellishments here. Days and of yore. So those are just examples of some ad-libs that I've added here. But again, you can try that, but also feel free to do different things or not do it at all. Maybe you want to keep it a little bit simple. Another thing you could do is actually change up the dynamic levels too. We haven't really even talked about that yet, right? But there's so many things you could do with just changing up the dynamics. So for example, here I might go light. Here we are, as in olden days. And then maybe I'll come in a little bit stronger here. Happy golden days, just to express into the word happy and golden more. Of yore, and then really sing more full out for that last phrase chunk there. So let's go to column 2 here. Here we are, as in olden days. So I don't know if I'm a huge fan of this one because this makes me feel like I have to hold on to the words through the phrase. But maybe you will find it a way of doing it that feels comfortable. So let's try that out again. Here we are, as in olden days. You see, I feel like it still needs to be phrased out into 2 chunks there. Let me try again. Here we are, as in olden days. Okay, so in this way of singing it, I've actually made that here we are, as in olden days. So that section there are as in. Those words there, whereas in column 1, that's where I separated them out, right? But here I've put them together. But to make it feel like it's something that I might sing, I've decided to highlight that as a connecting point here by the way that I'm singing it. So here we are, as in olden days. And I think that feels a little bit more natural. I think I could see myself singing it this way as opposed to just going, here we are, as in olden days. I feel like that's just me trying to put it all into one with not much intention behind it. Right. So that's, again, a quick example of in real time, really, how I might play around with phrase chunking, but also how am I going to sing it? How does this phrasing style inspire me to express into it? Okay, next line. Happy golden days of yore. And then I will just really highlight all of those drawn out lines here. If I were to phrase it out in 2 chunks as opposed to the first column, which is 4 chunks, right? Then that's how I would do it. I probably would make it more of a feature. So let's do that again. Column 2. Here we are, as in olden days. And I might still go, here we are, as in olden days. That feels a little bit too much, to be honest, but we can try it. Happy golden days of yore. I could still do it there, actually. I could go, of yore, but I've just linked the word days to the word of. Okay, so lots of different examples for you to play around and have fun with. Let's move on to the next line, but we're going to go to column 1. Faithful friends. That's all the same note, actually. It's a F sharp 4. Faithful friends who are dear to us, gather near to us once more. You know, I kind of like it. I kind of like keeping it simple here because of some of the styling that we've just done in the line before. It kind of makes sense to simplify it here too. When we're talking about styling, it is what feels right and comfortable for your voice and how you want to express it, but also does it match the lyrics and the meaning behind the words that you are actually singing? So here, faithful friends who are dear to us, it feels a lot more intimate, like you're, I don't know, in front of a fire, right? And just gathering with close personal friends. So it feels like it's nice to simplify it here. Like for me, I probably would refrain from over stylizing and like faithful friends who are dear to us. I mean, I could. You can try it though. I kind of like the simplicity of it because, like I said, we've just done a bunch of styling beforehand. Let's go over to column 2. And here we are just chunking it up into 2 instead of 3. Faithful friends who are dear to us. I do feel like I need to stylize something here, otherwise it just feels a little bit too drawn out. So maybe I will go faithful friends. So faithful, I can move that full up here. Faithful friends who are dear to us. So then I'm highlighting faithful and the word who, right, in my phrasing style. Gather near to, I feel like here I want to go up. I think it's because I'm not, it's one line. And so it feels like I want to connect more into the entire phrase chunk. And so I feel like moving up here, gather near to us once more. That gives me a little bit more playing room if I were to link these words up in this way, which I wouldn't do if I were to break this line up as I did in column 1, right? I wouldn't go, gather near to us once more. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't need to take a breath there, right? Or like to pause. It seems weird if I pause there. All right, moving on, the next line here, we're going to go back to column 1. So here we're going back to the main melody line, which is what we started off with. Through the years, we all will be together if the fates allow. So that's how I've phrased it up here. I've chunked it up rather. But how might I stylize into that to make it feel a little bit more conversational, I guess? Through the years, I might change it here because then it just changes the melody from have yourself, which I've done a bunch of times now in this song. So maybe I'll go through the years, we all will be together. Like that feels quite nice to me. And then here I might do the same thing for instead of going if the fates, instead of going back to that pattern, I might go if the fates, just to match the through the years, that change there. So then it really highlights that I'm doing something a little bit different and I'm introducing a slightly different melodic pattern here. So let's give that a try. Through the years, we all will be together. Come back down for together and then we go back up. If the fates allow, we can take a breath there and then just sing the allow on its own. But again, we don't want to just go allow and just leave it as it is. We want to express into it too, even though it's just one standalone word, there's still opportunities to express into one word, right? Allow, oh. Maybe I tack on a little ad lib there too. So play with that. All right, let's move to column 2. I've chunked this line up to be a little bit longer, so I've put more words into it. So let's see what that might sound like. Through the years, we all will be together. I do feel like I need to speed along a little bit here so that I'm really highlighting through the years we all will be. Like we all will be. Like I'm highlighting that part a little bit by speeding it up. Together. And then that makes the pause a little bit more intentional, right? Through the years we all will be together. So it almost like I'm deliberately pausing to get the audience to listen to the word together. Like what will we be? Through the years, we all will be together. It's kind of like that. Okay, next line here. If the fates allow, because I've put them together, then it makes sense to link them all together. Fates and allow, link those two words together. Okay, next line, let's go to column 1. For the next line here, the star, this word here is actually the highest note of the song, I believe, and that is a B4, so a B above middle C. And again, that's right in the middle of what it would be the typical female vocal range, the first bridge of the typical female vocal range. And so if that is uncomfortable for you, you can do a couple things. You can, I would encourage you to soften the R so that you're not trying to go star and try to grip into that sound, and also really open up the mouth here, almost like you're saying staw, staw. So the note is here, staw, staw. And you can practice that a few times and then sing it with the phrase, hang a shining star upon the highest bough. And because I've taken a breath after the word highest, I can actually extend the word bow quite long if I wanted to. All right, moving on to column 2, same line. Here, I've only made a little bit of a change here. So I'm extending the word star and I'm linking that all the way to the word highest, and then I take a breath. Okay, so let's see what that might sound like. Hang a shining star upon the highest bough. If you have vibrato or you want to crescendo or like bloom out into the sound here, you have the opportunity to do that. You could hold it as just a straight tone, or you could have straight tone and then add some vibrato at the end. And add a vibrato at the end. Or maybe, this might be kind of nice, we can actually glide into it. Maybe we go bow, so a little bit of a glide up, and then we take a breath at the tail end. Again, you don't have to hold the note very long also. If that doesn't feel comfortable for you, you can just go, hang a shining star upon the highest bough. You could just do that, and that's nice too. Okay, and then we take a breath. Last line here. Let's move back to the column 1. And have yourself, take a breath, a merry little Christmas now. And that's kind of nice. I like breaking it up that way because it goes back to that conversational feel, which I think is nice because it pulls the whole thing back into that intimate feeling. So you've done some stylizing, you've done some longer holds, and then here as we end the song, we can end on a more simpler, intimate way. Now, bear in mind, simplicity doesn't mean like you're not giving any effort. And actually, sometimes simple songs are the hardest to sing because we want to retain that simplicity, but we also don't want it to be like we don't care. Right? It's not like I'm just going, and have yourself a merry little Christmas now. It's not like I'm not doing anything, right? So I'm actually still being quite intentional and utilizing some energy, even though I'm doing it in an understated way. All right, so let's move to column 2. Instead of 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, instead of 4 chunks, I'm doing it as 2. And have yourself a merry little Christmas now. So the ending here is a little bit more drawn out. It has a little bit more drama to it, just a little bit less stripped down. But again, it gives a very different feeling. All right, so now that we've done the second half of the song, let's sing it with the music. So I'm going to follow the phrasing of the first column as the example. I'm going to sing a couple lines before the Here We Are as in Olden Days. From now on, our troubles will be miles away. Here we are, as in olden days, happy golden days of yore. Faithful friends who are dear to us, gather near to us once more. Through the years, we all will be together, if the fates allow. Hang a shining star upon the highest bough, and have yourself a merry little Christmas now. right, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial with a little bit of a twist on a classic Christmas song. If you want to take a step further and join me inside of my Singers Connect membership, where we get to interact with each other on a regular basis, and also you get to have access to my course where I talk about phrase chunking, I talk about how to manage the airflow, how to apply technique to the songs of your choice, and really find your signature sound and really find your unique voice, then I encourage you to consider joining me inside of Singers Connect. All the details are in the description where you're watching this video, or you can visit theonlinevocalacademy.com. Have a wonderful Christmas, and hey, Singers Connect members, those of you who are doing this challenge, I cannot wait to hear your versions posted inside of the community. All right, until next time, see you all soon. Take care.